Hi, and welcome everyone, and to you, Kirsty. Today we're going to be talking in the context of grid keeping about the energy body uh, and the subtle energies that exist in our bodies. We've talked about the grid lines, the ley lines in the Earth's body. We've talked about the meridian lines in the human body and how the energy generation, transmission, and distribution system works. But more importantly, we have to learn as grid keepers to be authentic and in integrity in all matters. And that is the most difficult thing to learn to do, because there are so many distractions in our world that try to distract us from those abilities that we have to run subtle energies in our bodies and to affect the Earth's grid system. Now, the Earth's grid system plays a big part in establishing the holographic realities here. And so in grid work, essentially what we are doing is affecting the Earth's energies and how it affects the holographic reality we experience. So we change our experiences by the energies we run now in our subtle energy bodies, our souls. Now, what evidence do we have that this energy body actually exists? And there was a Russian scientist called Kirlian who invented something called Kirlian photography. Effectively, it's an electrospectrography. It's called electrospectrography, where it can measure the heat elements that are coming off bodies, and how he can develop films, photographs of this. And to his surprise, he found that every organic body has a subtle energy body. So everything that is organic is emitting an energy. So, and when he photographed the human beings, he saw the energy body around the human body. And he was also noticed that changes in the energy body occurred when there were changes in the emotions and thoughts of the person that was being photographed. And that the energy body, once he developed it further, had different colors. So there were different spectrums of light coming off the body. And light, as we know, is electrical energy. So this electrical energy is around every living organism. In fact, in some non-organic organisms that are made of organic materials, there is sometimes also a subtle energy coming from those inanimate objects, like furniture made from wood, for instance, and so on. So we live in a world of energy, except because we can't see it, we think it doesn't exist. But when they developed video spectrography, electrospectrography, they were able to actually film video the soul leaving the body when as a person dies. This body of energy moves off from the body. And they were very intrigued by this notion that when we die, the energy leaves the body. So in a sense, that what is death is, it's just death of the body, but it's not death of the energy body. So this energy exists all around us. Also, there's something called the galvanic anemometer, which is a device you can hold in your hand. and gives off a buzzing sound. And as you change your thoughts and emotions, so the buzzing sound changes. So when you have very calm, peaceful thoughts, the buzzing sound drops down in volume and it drops down in frequency. And it's a very nice, calming. But if you think excitable or fearful or anxious thoughts, especially fear, the frequency jumps very high. So we, in effect, can affect everything around us by our thoughts and emotions. And when I first learned about this, and my higher self explained to me that in order to discover one's authentic self, one has to discover one's authentic thoughts. And so examining, what do I think about? And where do those thoughts come from? And as I did that, what I did is I got a pen and paper and I started to journal everything down, what my thoughts were and where they were coming from. And I found that almost all my thoughts came from prior indoctrination and prior teachings and things I'd been taught and experiences that I'd had in the flesh. So I had very few authentic thoughts. And then when I started doing the same with my emotions, I discovered that most of the time I was rationalizing my emotions. So I wasn't feeling my emotions, I was rationalizing. In other words, I was responding as I was taught to respond to certain situations, and I thought that was an appropriate emotion to have for that particular situation. But when I really examined it, I wasn't feeling the emotion. I was thinking the emotion, and I was acting out the emotion without feeling it. And that is terribly inauthentic. So I had to go through a fairly rigorous process within myself and for myself in examining my thoughts and emotions and learning to gain some sort of balance. Mm. So what I did, I compiled a list of emotions, and to my surprise, I found there over 100 emotions, different emotions we can feel. And then I put those into a spreadsheet, and then I developed a column. How often do you feel these emotions? And rate them out of 1 out of 10. 10 is often, and 1 is not so often, and 0 is I've never felt this emotion. And so I rated all those emotions down that way, and then I did a sort to see which emotions I felt most often and which emotions I felt least often. And to my surprise, there were about 50% of the emotions I had never felt before. They were just not in my emotional intelligence. And the emotions that I felt most often were negative emotions. I was feeling anxiety, concern, worry, and all the negative emotions, fear, and lower down, there were some emotions that I felt quite regularly, but not often, which is love, kindness, peacefulness, joyfulness. And I was aware of those emotions, but there were over 50% of the emotions I had never felt before. So I went through all of those emotions that I'd never seemed to have felt before. And I said, now, how does it feel like to feel this emotion? And I would sit quietly and try to pull that emotion into my emotional body and work through each one of those emotions. So this is what this emotion feels like. That's what that emotion feels like. And then I became more aware of how I was feeling. And my emotions, when I began to feel negative emotions, I became aware of them. I could identify that negative emotion, and then I had to ask myself, where does this emotion come from? And I found that particularly negative emotions like worry, anxiety, fear are irrational. They're not rational, because most of the time, 99% of our time here on Earth, there is nothing to be afraid of. But we tend to draw off the experiences of the past, and this just in case something goes wrong, I should be ready to feel this emotion. So we pull those emotions from our past and into our present, and that we make them a constant state of emotion and in our emotional bodies. So I had a real fight, in a sense, to begin to feel my emotions and to then decide which emotions do I want to feel most. So I did another column in the spreadsheet and I rated my emotions and which emotions do I want to feel most, and did a sort on those. And I found that the emotions I wanted to feel most were things like peace, gratitude, joy, love, concern, genuine concern. I want to feel alive. I want to feel, and then I went through each of those emotions, and then I made a conscious effort to try to really feel that emotion and get in touch with it. And then when I woke up in the morning, I would ask myself, how are you feeling today? What are you feeling inside? And often what I was feeling inside were habits, emotional habits I'd acquired over my life, that you wake up in the morning and think, oh my God, what a terrible day it is. I don't feel like getting out of bed. And I want to go back to sleep. Do I have to be here? And when I began to realize that I had developed emotional habits, I had to relearn those habits. So when I wake up in the morning, decide when I wake up in the morning, I want to feel gratitude, be thankful that I'm alive. And so each morning I'd wake up and say, I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful for the things I've had. I'm so grateful for the sleep I've had. I'm so grateful for the food that is going to be on my plate today. I'm so grateful. And I went through all those things that I'm grateful for that I had in the past taken for granted. So I made a conscious effort to feel those gratitude about those things. And so I did with many emotions. And it took me about 3 years of practice to learn how I feel, and then to feel more authentic emotions, more of what I want to feel, rather than feel what others were imposing on me. And that's a very difficult thing to do, because especially when you're with people project their expectations onto you most of the time. And so when I first started doing the good keeping work in 2006, I was told to stay away from people, stay away from electromagnetic fields, and in a sense, I became a bit of a recluse.
Hermit, yeah.
And I had never lived alone before, so it was a new experience for me to be all on my own. And so that in itself was a big challenge, because not only were people projecting their emotions onto me, but I had been projecting my emotions and expectations on other people. So I had to learn not to have expectations of other people, but just to allow them to be who they be. And when I did have human contact, and that was a very freeing experience for me, to suddenly realize that I don't have to judge other people. And what other people do is none of my business. It's their business. So that freed me up from all the judgments that I'd had all my life and judging other people. What does this person look like? What kind of clothes do they have? What car do they drive? And so being free from all these judgments, I could just stay in a state of emotional bliss in a sense. That because it's taking back control of your own emotions. And
I was just going to say, I think that's maybe something that, well, I sometimes struggle with a little bit, is finding the balance between that sort of radical acceptance of like what just letting things be versus, I can be the creator. And it's kind of like a bit of a paradox that you can have both, I think. Would you say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of those paradoxes of life that, and it exists all around us, where people look at the car you drive, look at the clothes you wear, look at the way you style your hair, the way you speak, the way you look, and all these outward appearances become value judgments of other people. And when you free yourself from all those value judgments, you learn to live on your own by yourself and free yourself up from those value judgments. You'll also free others from your own judgments. So, and I've had people come live with me over the years, temporary visitors and so on. And they say to me, you're so non-judgmental. I say, yeah, well, what's the point of judging other people? What you do is your business. I'm only responsible for the way I feel and what I do. I'm not responsible for what you do. You do whatever you like. My space is mine. I've got a simple rule: do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impede the freedoms of other people. So as long as you're not causing harm or loss, you're welcome in my space. But I find a lot of people, when they come into a space, they immediately want to cause loss. They want to take something from you. If it's not a material possession, they want to draw energy from you and acquire that energy. And I just don't let people do that. I hold on to my energy and hold on to they're my energies and they are for me. And if other people want them, in appropriate circumstances, I'll give it to them. But I don't like people vampiring off my energy, coming into my space and just taking for granted that they have rights to parts of me that belong to me and that don't belong to them. So being a grid keeper takes a lot of work on oneself, controlling one's emotions, having authentic thoughts, and raising your standards and values. And that was another thing that took a lot of work from me, because at the time when I was first waking up, I didn't have a large spectrum of values, standards and values. I had simple values. I respected life and I respect other people. I'm patriotic and I love my country. I love my family. I love God and the universe, and I love plants and trees and so on. But I didn't have a wide spectrum of standards and values. So I made a list of standards and values that I thought were standards and values and things that one should examine. And I did the same exercise with the standard and values. Which standards do I normally uphold in my life and which don't? I don't even think about them. And sorted them out, and I found that I had a very narrow spectrum of standards and values. And that, for instance, I didn't respect and value all of life. Every living thing deserves respect. And how does one uphold that? You see, and how does one display that in one's life? So I had to make a conscious effort that, for instance, I've got some ants in my kitchen, and immediately went to the cupboard to pull out my insect repellent, insect killer we have in South Africa. And then before I applied, I thought, no, these ants have a right to live, and I don't have the right to take anything away from them. So I sat and thought about it, and I said, how can I display my appreciation and love for them in a way that benefits them? So I thought, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a jar of honey and make a tiny hole in the top of the bottle and put it on my windowsill. And it was the windowsill above where I do my dishes. And every time I went to do my dishes, there would be this line of ants going up the bottle, into the bottle, coming out the bottle. And that went on for a year until they cleaned out the entire bottle of honey. And I thought, isn't that amazing how we can change our environment simply by changing our standards and values and thinking, how can I benefit these creatures? And so when that bottle was empty, I bought another bottle, did the same thing. And about a third of the way through the year, the ants suddenly disappeared. And I had no more ants in my house, and I didn't get ants in my house for the next 7 years. And I think they just picked up the love, and so they were giving me back respect by not showing up in my kitchen. You see, so having standards and values can be a real experiential way of living, where you can make tangible differences in the world we live in by upholding those standards and values. So both the list of emotions is up on my website, and as part of my courses, I also provide a list of standards and values, and I'll put a link to them below so that people can find them below this video. And it's really worthwhile taking that effort, making the effort. Another trick I learned from my higher self, because he said to me, try to stay neutral in your thoughts and emotions, and from that basis work outward. So first go inward and then work outward. And now I wasn't sure what he meant by that, and so I said, well, how do I do that? And he said, have you ever daydreamed? And I said, well, yeah, when I was a kid, I was a real daydreamer. My mom used to call me a daydreamer. He says, well, go and sit and just daydream. So I said, well, what does that do? And he says, when you daydream, you're not thinking, you're listening. And I thought, I didn't understand what he meant. He said, you're listening to the sound of the universe coming to you through thoughts and pictures. And the pictures in your mind, they come and they go and they just float away. And he says, that's the way the universe works. And from that, you develop a smorgasbord and the ability to go and draw into your mind those thoughts and emotions that you want to actually acquire for yourself. He said, one of the greatest paradoxes in the universe is that everything comes from nothing. And if you want to know everything about everything, you must know nothing.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to meditate in a state of nothingness, where I wasn't thinking, I wasn't feeling, I was just in a state of nothing. And in that state of nothing, it's amazing the creative ideas that I had that just pop into my head. The creative images and solutions to problems and an understanding of deeper concepts. It's just by staying in that state of nothing and allowing the nothingness to come to you, and not trying to be nothing, say nothing, and feel nothing. Just allow that nothingness to come to you. And when the nothingness comes to you, everything comes to you, because everything comes from nothing.
Yeah. And don't strive for nothing, isn't it? It's like that grabbing onto it. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think we'll end it there. And then next week we'll take a, well, next time we'll, do you want to just do this on Mondays and just once a week?
Yeah, I'm just whatever works for you is fine for me.
Yeah, perhaps we just do it on Mondays, because I think I give out a lot of information in these sessions, and it may take a bit of time to actually work on the information that I'm putting out, like your thoughts and emotions. Go pull out that list of emotions.
That's a lot. Yeah.
On my website, go examine them, do the sorting, find out how do I feel, what are the feelings that I'm feeling, get in touch with those feelings, and learn how to like orchestrate your own feelings. Because emotions are magnetic energies, and magnetism is music, sound. So in a sense, when you are using your emotions to create the sound around you and the pictures around you, it develops in your mind. It's called imagination. And in a sense, those pictures in your mind are like the metadata behind the photographs that we see online. There's a program that takes that metadata and forms the image. So our imagination is, in a sense, the metadata that the universe can read like a computer program, and it knows exactly what the images are like. So it's very valuable in manifesting. For instance, if you want to manifest something, if you go deep into yourself and ask, is this what I truly want? And then you begin to, in your mind, play out that image of that thing or that state that you wish to have. And you begin to see yourself in that. You are, in fact, telling the universe a message, and you're sending out that message. And when you send out that message, it goes out into the universe, and it always comes back to you. If not immediately, it takes time.
Yeah, it's like it's created, but even if you don't have it now, isn't it? Like, yeah.
We don't have an instant manifestation of our dreams and hopes, but they do always come back to us, sometimes in surprising ways. Okay, thanks for your attendance. As I said, just having you interested in this information inspires me, because I've held back from putting this information out there because I didn't think anybody else in the universe would care about it.
But of course, there's lots of people. Yeah, of course.
And it's quite a rigorous, requirement, demands of grid keepers, and it does take a lot of dedication. So I'm really inspired by your interest and dedication. So let's do this next week, Monday, and we'll see you again then.
Okay. Yeah.
Love you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.